My toxic ex-best friend is engaged to my brother, and she's using my childhood secrets to destroy my family. Imagine the one person who knows all your deepest, darkest secrets. The mistakes you made in high school, the embarrassing things you did in college, the insecurities you've never told anyone. Now imagine that person is engaged to your older brother, and she's using every single one of those secrets to turn your family against you. That's exactly what happened to me. My toxic ex-best friend, the one I cut off years ago for spreading lies about me, is back. And she's not just in my life again. She's marrying into my family. She's whispering in my mother's ear, cozying up to my father, and making my brother believe I'm the villain. But here's the thing about people who weaponize your past. They always leave a paper trail, and I've been saving receipts for years. My name is Sarah, and I've always believed that friendship is one of the most sacred bonds two people can share. A true friend is someone who celebrates your victories, holds your hand through your failures, and keeps your secrets locked in a vault. That's what I thought I had with Megan. Megan and I met in middle school, back when we were both awkward. Braces-wearing 13-year-olds who bonded over our love for cheesy romance novels and terrible pop music. We were inseparable for over a decade. We went to the same high school, attended the same college, and even shared an apartment for 2 years after graduation. She was my ride or die. My sister from another mister, the person I called when I got my first heartbreak, when I got my first job, when I got my first apartment. She knew everything about me. And that was the problem. Megan had always been a little competitive. She didn't just want to be my friend, she wanted to be better than me. Every time I achieved something, she had to achieve something bigger. When I got a promotion, she got a better one. When I bought a new car, she bought a more expensive one. At first, I didn't notice. I thought she was just ambitious. But then I started noticing the subtle put-downs, the backhanded compliments, the way she would share my secrets with other people under the guise of just being honest. The breaking point came 3 years ago. I had just started dating a man named David. He was kind, handsome, and successful, and I was falling hard. I told Megan about him, sharing all the gushy details that only a best friend should know. A few weeks later, David broke up with me out of nowhere. I was devastated. I didn't understand what had happened. It wasn't until months later that I found out the truth. Megan had told David that I was emotionally unstable and difficult to be with. She fabricated stories about my drama and convinced him that I was toxic. She had destroyed my relationship because she couldn't stand to see me happy. I confronted her. She denied everything. But I had proof, text messages she had sent to David, screenshots I had saved. When I showed them to her, she didn't apologize. She just said, I was trying to protect him. You're too much for someone like him. That was the moment I ended our friendship. I blocked her on everything. I moved to a new apartment. I changed my phone number. I cut her out of my life like a cancer. I thought I was free. I thought I would never have to see her again. But I was wrong. 3 years later, my older brother, Michael, came to me with a huge smile on his face. Sarah, I have amazing news, he said, practically glowing. I met someone. She's incredible. She's smart, funny, beautiful, and she makes me so happy. I'm going to propose. I was thrilled for him. Michael had been single for a long time, and he deserved someone wonderful. That's great, I said. Who is she? Do I know her? He laughed. Actually, you do. It's Megan. My heart stopped. My blood ran cold. I felt like I was gonna throw up. Megan? I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. Michael, you can't be serious. You know what she did to me? You know how she betrayed me. Michael's expression shifted from joy to annoyance. Sarah, that was years ago. People change. Megan told me everything. She said you two had a falling out over a misunderstanding, and she's been heartbroken about it ever since. She really wants to make things right. I stared at him, unable to process what I was hearing. Megan had poisoned my brother's mind before I even had a chance to warn him, and she was already rewriting history. I tried to warn Michael. I sat him down in my apartment and told him everything, every single detail about how Megan had sabotaged my relationship, how she had spread lies about me, how she had shown absolutely no remorse. I showed him the screenshots of her texts to David. I showed him old messages where she admitted to being jealous of me. I even showed him a voice memo where she had laughed about manipulating my ex-boyfriend. Michael listened patiently, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. Sarah, he said gently, I appreciate you telling me this, but you have to understand, Megan is different now. She's been in therapy. She's worked on herself. She told me she was in a bad place back then and made mistakes. She's genuinely sorry. I felt like I was talking to a wall. Michael, she is not sorry. She is a manipulator. She is getting close to you because she wants to hurt me. Can't you see that? He shook his head. I think you need to let go of the past. If you actually care about me, you'll give her a chance. That was when I realized just how deep Megan's claws were. She had Michael completely wrapped around her finger, and she wasn't done. A few weeks later, Michael announced that he and Megan were engaged. The engagement party was held at my parents' house, and I was expected to attend. I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay home and pretend the whole thing wasn't happening. But my mother, Carol, insisted. Sarah, she's going to be your sister-in-law. You need to make peace with her. Family is everything. I knew there was no point arguing. My mother had always been a peacekeeper, and she wanted to believe the best in people. So I put on a brave face and went to the engagement party. Megan was waiting for me. She looked stunning, a perfect white dress, flawless makeup, and a radiant smile. She rushed over to me as soon as I walked in, throwing her arms around me like we were still best friends. Sarah, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. I've missed you so much. I stiffened in her embrace, too shocked to even hug her back. She pulled away, her eyes glistening with fake tears. I know things were weird between us, she said loudly so my family could hear, but I really want to start over. I want us to be sisters, my mother beamed. My father nodded approvingly. Michael looked proud, and I stood there, completely trapped. Megan had orchestrated the entire scene to make herself look like the bigger person. Everyone in the room was looking at me, waiting for me to respond. If I refused to forgive her, I would look petty and bitter. If I accepted, I would be validating her lies. I forced a tight smile. Congratulations, Megan, I said. I hope you make my brother happy. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't acceptance. But it was enough to placate the crowd. That was just the beginning. Over the next few months, Megan systematically inserted herself into every aspect of my family's life. She started having lunch dates with my mother, where she would casually bring up stories from our past. Stories that made me look bad. Stories about the time I got drunk at a party in college. Stories about the guy I dated who turned out to be married. Stories about my anxiety attacks and my struggles with self-esteem. She framed everything as concern. I'm just worried about Sarah, she would say to my mother. She's always been so fragile. I hope she's doing okay. My mother, who had always been protective of me, started looking at me with pity. She started treating me like I was a fragile, broken little girl who couldn't take care of herself. It was infuriating. And then Megan started turning Michael against me. She would tell him that I was jealous of her and that I was trying to sabotage their relationship. She painted me as the villain who couldn't let go of the past. Sarah has always had a hard time sharing, she would say, her voice dripping with false sympathy. I think she's scared of losing you to me. Michael started pulling away from me. He stopped returning my calls. He stopped inviting me to dinners with his friends. He treated me like I was a threat to his happiness. I was losing my family, and I didn't know how to stop it. The breaking point came at my parents' anniversary dinner. It was a small gathering. Just our immediate family and a few close friends. Megan had been whispering to my mother for weeks about how she wanted to surprise Carol with a heartfelt speech. My mother, of course, thought it was the most touching thing in the world. I knew better. Megan was planning something. And sure enough, when it was her turn to speak, she stood up, raised her glass, and launched into a story that made my blood boil. I just want to say how grateful I am to be a part of this amazing family, she began, her voice thick with fake emotion. Carol and Robert, you have raised the most wonderful children. I love Michael so much, and I'm so lucky to be marrying into this family. But I also want to say something else. I know Sarah and I had some difficult times in the past. I know we had a falling out, and I take full responsibility for that. I was young, I was stupid, and I made a lot of mistakes. But I've always loved Sarah like a sister, and I'm so sorry for anything I did that hurt her. She paused, wiping her eyes dramatically. And if Sarah ever wants to talk about what happened between us, I'm here. I've forgiven her. I really hope she can forgive me too. The room was silent. Everyone turned to look at me. My mother was nodding encouragingly. Michael was smiling. My father looked confused, and I felt like I was going to explode. She had just made me look like the person who was holding a grudge, the person who couldn't forgive, the person who was keeping the family from healing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell everyone exactly what Megan had done to me. But I knew that if I did, I would look like the bitter, angry ex-friend who couldn't let go. I excused myself from the table and went to the bathroom. I locked the door, leaned over the sink, and stared at my reflection in the mirror. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I had never felt so powerless in my entire life. Megan had dismantled my family's trust in me piece by piece, and there was nothing I could do to stop her. Except there was something I could do. I just hadn't been willing to do it. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my photo gallery, all the way back to 3 years ago. Screenshots of text messages, screenshots of social media posts, screenshots of emails. I had saved everything. I had been waiting for the right moment, and this was it. I didn't want to humiliate my brother. I didn't want to destroy my parents' relationship with Megan, but I had to protect my family. I had to stop her before she destroyed us from the inside out. When I returned to the table, Megan was laughing at something my father had said. She was the picture of confidence, completely unaware that her reign of manipulation was about to come crashing down. I sat down, took a deep breath, and said, Megan, I think we should talk about everything, about David, about the lies you told my friends, about the way you sabotaged my relationships. I think everyone here deserves to know the truth. The smile on Megan's face vanished. She turned pale but quickly recovered. Sarah, this isn't the time or place, she said, her voice strained. We should talk privately. I shook my head. No, we should talk now. In front of my family, because they've been hearing your version of the truth for months, and I think it's time they heard mine. The room fell silent. My mother set down her fork. My father leaned forward in his chair. Michael looked confused and worried. Sarah, what are you doing? He asked, his voice tinged with annoyance. This is supposed to be a celebration. I ignored him and kept my eyes locked on Megan. You want to know why I cut you off 3 years ago, Megan? You want to know why I blocked you on everything and never spoke to you again? It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't because we drifted apart. It was because you destroyed my relationship with David. You told him lies about me. You manipulated him into thinking I was unstable and difficult. You ruined the first real connection I had in years because you couldn't stand to see me happy. Megan's face flushed red. That's not true, she said quickly. I never did that. I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots. Really? Because I have texts from you to David. Texts where you told him I had anger issues and that I was emotionally unstable. Texts where you said I was too much to handle. Want me to read them out loud? Megan's eyes darted around the room. She was searching for an escape, but there was none. My mother's face had gone pale. My father was frowning. Michael looked like he was in shock. Sarah, please, Megan begged. Not here. Not in front of everyone. I didn't stop. And that wasn't the only time you did this, was it? You sabotaged my friendships too. You told my college roommate that I was talking badly about her behind her back. You spread a rumor that I was sleeping with my boss. You did everything you could to isolate me and make me dependent on you. You were never my friend, Megan. You were my parasite. I pulled out more screenshots, emails, messages, even recordings I had made of our conversations. I have proof of every single thing I'm saying. Every lie. Every manipulation. Every betrayal. Michael was staring at Megan with wide eyes. Is this true? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Megan, tell me this isn't true. Megan's composure finally shattered. She started crying. Real tears this time, but they were tears of fear, not remorse. I made mistakes, she sobbed. I was young and insecure. I didn't know how to handle my jealousy, but I've changed. I've been in therapy. I'm a different person now. My mother started to soften, but I wasn't done. Have you really changed, Megan? I asked, my voice cold and steady. Because you've been with my brother for 6 months. And in that time, you've been slowly turning my family against me. You've been whispering in my mother's ear about my fragility. You've been telling Michael that I'm jealous of you. You've been systematically erasing me from my own family. That's not the behavior of someone who's changed. That's the behavior of a manipulator who wants to win at all costs. Megan looked desperately at Michael. Baby, please. You know me. You know I love you. I'm not the person Sarah is describing. Michael looked torn. He wanted to believe her. He loved her, but the evidence was undeniable. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain. Sarah, I didn't know. I reached over and squeezed his hand. I know you didn't. She's very good at hiding the truth, but now you know, and what you do with that information is up to you. Michael broke off the engagement that night. He didn't scream or yell. He didn't make a scene. He just looked at Megan with dead eyes and said, I need you to leave. We'll talk tomorrow. Megan begged and pleaded, but Michael was resolute. He had seen the proof. He couldn't unsee it. My parents were devastated, not because of Megan, but because they realized they had been fooled. My mother apologized to me profusely. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I didn't know. I thought she was just trying to be nice. I didn't realize she was poisoning us against you. I hugged her and told her I forgave her. It wasn't her fault. Megan was a master manipulator. Even the most perceptive people could be fooled. Over the next few days, the truth about Megan came spilling out. Michael discovered that Megan had been lying about other things too. About her job, about her past, about her family. She wasn't who she had claimed to be. She had created an entire persona just to get close to him, and she had done it specifically to hurt me. Michael was heartbroken, but he was also furious. How could I have been so stupid? He said to me one night. I didn't see any of it. I shook my head. Don't blame yourself. She fooled all of us. The important thing is that we know the truth now. Megan tried to salvage the situation. She sent flowers to my mother. She left voicemails for Michael, sobbing and apologizing. She even showed up at my apartment begging me to talk to her. I didn't open the door. Go away, Megan, I said through the closed door. You did this to yourself. You had chances to change. You had chances to be a decent person, but you chose to lie and manipulate instead. And now you have to live with the consequences, she screamed. She cried. She pounded on the door. But eventually she gave up. The police were called by a neighbor, and she was escorted off the property. Her reputation in our town was destroyed. The things she had done became public knowledge, and people who had once admired her started distancing themselves. She had burned every bridge she had ever built, and now she was left with absolutely nothing. Michael went to therapy to process the betrayal. He felt embarrassed and foolish, but he also felt relieved. I dodged a bullet, he told me. If we had gotten married, she would have destroyed my life. I hugged him tightly. We both dodged a bullet, but we survived, and we're going to be okay. 6 months later, my family was stronger than ever. My mother had learned to be more discerning about people. My father had become more protective of our family unit, and Michael had slowly started dating again, this time with a much keener eye for red flags. As for Megan, she had moved to a different state. I heard through the grapevine that she was working a low-paying job at a clothing store and living in a tiny apartment. She had tried to start over, but her reputation had followed her. The people she had manipulated before had come forward, and she was known as the woman who destroyed friendships and relationships for sport. One evening, I received a letter from her. I almost threw it away, but something compelled me to open it. In the letter, she apologized. Not the fake, self-serving apologies she had given before, but a genuine, painful apology. She admitted that she had been jealous of me since we were teenagers. She admitted that she had sabotaged my relationships because she couldn't stand to see me happy. And she admitted that she had targeted Michael specifically to hurt me in the most intimate way possible. She told me that she had finally started real therapy, not the kind she had pretended to be in, but the kind where she actually faced her demons. And she said she was sorry, truly deeply sorry. I didn't respond to the letter. I didn't forgive her, not yet, maybe not ever, but I did something else. I burned the letter, I watched it turn to ash in my fireplace, and I let go of the anger and resentment I had been carrying for years. I didn't need to be angry anymore. I didn't need to hold on to the pain. Megan had lost everything. She had lost my brother, my family, and the trust of everyone who had ever cared about her. She had to live with the weight of her own choices. That was punishment enough. Michael and I started spending more time together. We went on weekend trips, had dinner together every Sunday, and rebuilt the bond that Megan had tried to destroy. My parents welcomed me back into the fold with open arms, and our family dinners became joyful again. I learned to trust my instincts again. I learned that the people who love you will always believe you if you give them the chance to see the truth. And I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's living well. It's showing up for the people who matter. It's letting the toxic people destroy themselves while you build a beautiful life. A year later, I met someone wonderful, a man named James who valued honesty and transparency above everything else. When I told him about Megan, he didn't judge me. He just held my hand and said, "I'm sorry you went through that, but I'm glad you got out. We're planning a future together, and my family adores him." My mother frequently tells me, "I'm so proud of you, Sarah. You turned your pain into strength." And she's right, I did. Megan taught me that people can be cruel and manipulative, but she also taught me that I am resilient. I am strong, and I will never let anyone break me again. As for Megan, I hope she finds peace. I hope she becomes the person she pretended to be, but I don't need to be a part of that journey. I've closed that chapter of my life, and I've never felt more free.